shift over to MMA. UFC's in Shenzhen, China this weekend. UFC Fight Night fight card begins at 6 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Just keep that in mind, even though it's fight night, it'll be fight morning, or if you're on the West Coast in the Pacific time zone, 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. So that's basically stay up for that one. And then just watch some college football all day. Anyway, main event promises to be an historic one for this one. Jessica Andrade defending her women's strawweight championship against Weili Zhang. It's the first UFC title to be defended in China. Zhang, the first Chinese fighter to ever challenge for a UFC belt. The champ, a minus 185 favorite. The challenger coming in at plus 150. Rick, who leaves Shenzhen with the gold on early Saturday?
Yeah, I'm dreading staying up to 3 a.m. watching this, but
that's when it starts.
Well, the main card, yeah, that's when the main card starts. The prelims start at midnight our time, so we get a little bit of action before we pass out. Even before we get into the main event, the whole main card has some great fights lined up. This is actually what I feel. Everybody's looking ahead to UFC 242 next week with Khabib coming back and stuff, and that loaded card. But this has got some intriguing fights, some international prospects and contenders in their divisions. Like, this is a card not to sleep on. With that said, I'm going with the challenger here. I like good stories. I like inspirational stories. I like, a story where we get that happy ending. I want to see history made here. I believe she has the skills to do this. Not only does she have the ground and pound game, but she also has striking skills to compete with the champ. The champ has a lot of pressure. She puts that pressure on. You saw her do it in her last fight where she just beat Rose Nama, whatever you want to say, Namajunas. She just defeated her in May to win the title when she slammed her and knocked her out when she slammed her on her head. She's not going to do that against Zhang this fight. Zhang's got some kicking. She's got some punching. She's very competent on the ground. She's won 19 straight fights. She's going to have the entire 5 billion Chinese people rooting for her. History on her side. Why not root for something like that? She's got the skills. Why not root for that kind of historical finish? I'm going with her to win. I like her as a fighter anyways. If Jessica can do this in Brazil, her home country, to win the title, why can't Zhang do this in her home country?
I don't know if Zhang's really dealt with the power or the volume with the Andrade will be able to land the punches, the volume of the punches she'll be able to land. Very easy for me to say. The competition hasn't been great against her. I do think the home field advantage is something that could play into it a little bit, but I have a hard time picking against, I guess, Andrade, I think.
It's Andrade.
Andrade. So the betting value is obviously with Zhang. Rick made a pretty good case for it at plus 165, but I would side with Andrade, but the value is not really there, so I'd probably just avoid betting on it altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I like the champ in this one. I think that when she won the title in Brazil, she did not have her best performance in that match, and she was still able to pick up a win. I was actually just watching it back like an hour ago before we jumped in here to record, and because it was a second round knockout, and it was, I mean, the knockout itself was incredible because she basically just, while being put in a headlock, deadlifted her opponent and slammed her down and basically went head first and knocked her out. And up until that point, though, I don't know that she was winning the fight. And if that was her on an off night, if she's having a good showing in Shenzhen, I don't know that Zhang is going to be able to stop her. On top of that, too, is that, as Rick pointed out, yeah, Andrade won in her home country, but she didn't have the best performance. She ended up winning via knockout after losing the fight for much of the first, round and a half until the knockout happened. So I don't know if that's really the best comparison to go with, because it wasn't like it was a build up to a win. It was all right, she's down 1-0. She might be on the way to losing this round. Oh, she won. That was how that fight went. So I don't know if that's the best comparison to really draw because it was almost as if there was that pressure of fighting in front of her home country or in her home country. So I don't know. I would pick the champion. I agree with Taylor's point. I don't know that there's betting value on betting on the champion at minus 185. UFC, MMA is just one of those types of sports where, like in Andrade's fight when she won the championship, it can literally change at a moment's notice. And the bet that you place that looked completely great for the first 3/4 of a match could end up just being flushed down the toilet because of a weird slam or a punch or a slip. So minus 185 might be a little bit rich for me to be willing to really wager on it, but I would pick Andrade to win this fight. I hope you enjoyed that segment from the Odds On Favorites podcast. If you did, there's plenty more where that came from. Click on the link on your screen now to be taken to the complete podcast from this week, or check out the channel to find the other individual segments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel for plenty more sports and sports betting picks, tips, and how-to guides.